Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be doing a girl, a guy, and a movie. And today's entire reason for doing this is because last week there was a medical emergency within the apartment. Everything is fine now for the most part. Happy about that. However, uh, there is going to be some things I'm going to say right away. I reserve the right to fair use, which means that I'm going to use and borrow clips, snippets of the material we're discussing for purposes of a commentary and for to help other people possibly enjoy the subject matter we have a little bit more. You see in my hands, I hold miniatures, and I have miniatures all over my desk, and that's what the fuck I do. I do this to enjoy myself. I don't do this so anybody else can enjoy themselves. If you enjoy the fact I like to paint, that's great. But this is for me. My friend with me on this stream is my friend Janet from another planet, and she is here because she loves to talk about movies.
hmm I do.
We really enjoy our hobby, and if other people want to bemoan or give criticism, hey, that's great. That's awesome. Sometimes criticism will help improve something, but other times people just want to get snarky or whatever, and that's fine. They have the freedom of speech too. It also doesn't mean you're not free from consequences of your speech, and that goes every way. So, with that being stated, if YouTube wants to be cunty and not allow me to receive a dime or penny from my work that I do today, I'm not doing early work, but I'll be showing some clips here and there, maybe some photos. And if YouTube wants to be cunty or be like a jealous ex, that's fine. We have Rumble. I even have Twitter now, and
hmm
I enjoy what I do. This is part of my hobby of being just a consumer of things, and I do like movies. I prefer movies that are good. I don't like shit movies. So now that my time on the soapbox is over, welcome and hi, Janet. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fucking excellent.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching this movie. It was really, really good. I forgot how good it was.
If I'm correct, I believe you are dressed up like our dear.
Kind of like Lucy's wedding gown, burial gown, basically.
Yeah, you got that wedding gown look going on,
hmm
and yeah, you did excellent. Glad
Well,
I'm
I'm had
proud
a
of
few
you.
days to throw it together, so but I still wanted to do it to wear it because last week I was wearing the red hair and everything, and then we didn't get to do it because you had an emergency. So I had
Mm.
more time to work on it. But yeah, this movie was an awesome movie, especially when you think about all the work the director went through to try to make it as authentic as possible for like it was a Broadway play. He didn't want to use any special effects. Almost everything they used was what you would use in a magic show, with lighting and then makeup, things like that, and then actual acting abilities. So,
Yeah, this movie knocks it out of the park for me. To our friends in the chat, and for those of us that are just lurking on Twitter, which there are many, and I love you for it. Six Nations 31 Kings says, "What's up, world champions?" Our friend David the Crafting Gamer says, "Hi, all." Lloyd Christmas Ryan says, "Yo!" Six Nations 31 Kings says, "Show them pearly whites at Janet from another planet."
yeah.
It scares me.
Yeah.
And our friend Jackie Blue, our sweet, sweet moderator, the queen of moderators, is here today.
A few.
Yeah,
But
last week's costume was amazing. If you want to see that, our friend James still has that live stream available on his channel. As far as I know, we're not being responsible for paying YouTube for these server stacks of unwatched live content, and I'm okay with that. Anyway, so when did you see this movie, Janet? When was your first time being broken into Bram Stoker's
I
Dracula?
don't really remember exactly when. I didn't see it at the theater.
You did.
But I didn't. I didn't get to
See,
see it
that
at the
that
theater.
really kicks my ass because I actually would have thought that you miss. I love vampires. I love Dracula. You would like have.
Well, I probably would have liked it. Like I got to see Underworld at the movie theater,
Okay,
but
but I'm
just
also thinking
depends on what's going on. I don't remember exactly. I was traveling or something. That's the reason I didn't get to watch it at the
oh
actual
my,
theater.
oh my God. And by the way, gentlemen, if you are in if you are in South the UK and you're not a smelly migrant over there that likes goats, our friend Vanessa Vaughn is in the chat. Go subscribe to her right now. She's smoking hot. She's funny. She's adorable. Jackie Blue's like, oh God, really, guys? I'm sorry. So I turn into a pig when Vanessa's on. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, Vanessa Vaughn turns me into a worse version of myself than Janet does.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm logging in real quick so I can get on
on your
my
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, so I
Okay.
can chat with people. Even though I do mostly talking and stuff, but I do want to be logged in. So just give me 1 second.
You look wonderful as Lucy, Janet. I can
I'm
just
getting
imagine her
to
saying
YouTube. But what was your favorite parts of the movie that you can remember? Special effects, the way they did things, or sets? That was one thing.
well, that's okay.
Found out that
I'm
he didn't want to have any sets. He wanted to do nothing but use lights and props and things like that. And the people producing the movie actually said no, you have to build sets. So he ended up building some.
I
That was
honestly
one of the
felt like
trivia that I found.
when we're watching this movie, I kind of got the same feeling from everything
Hmm.
in this film. Thank you, Vanessa. I got the same feeling from watching this movie that I did from watching the 1969 Romeo and Juliet that they filmed it at an actual castle. And when I
Hmm.
found out later this was just kind of built in a backlot for the most part. I mean, the London scenes look like they're completely filmed, in a lot somewhere. And that may be or maybe not the right mentality to think about it. You're supposed to lose yourself in it. But for me, it just looked like a lot. It did. But all of the castle scenes for me, for some odd reason, just sold it. And I could not um, get out of the mindset that they actually had a family there that was allowing them to use their property. And I've always thought that for over 30 years. I saw this movie with my dad on the following of a breakup of a woman who looked disturbingly a lot like a shorter version of can't think of her name. Hold on. Winona Ryder.
I'm trying to
She looked like
help, but
she looked
I don't
exactly
know.
like she looked exactly like Winona Ryder, but like a 5 foot tall version of it.
Hmm.
So instead of like Winona Ryder being like lithe and angular and having properly length limbs, it's like I almost got the dwarfism version of Winona Ryder, and I I thought like oh wow, she's really cute and all that, and she was shapely and everything that you want in your girlfriend. But when I got dumped by her by this guy that was in the Army Reserves because I was 17 and not in service at the time,
Yeah.
uh, man, I took it like a hit, and then I went and saw this movie, and the part of the movie that broke the spell of depression was when Jonathan, the wooden Keanu Reeves, gets into the chamber with the three wives of Dracula, and just enjoying that visual kind of broke the spell for me. And I was like, I'm normal. I don't need Heather anymore. My life is good. And later in life, I met up with Heather again. She was working with my dad as a assembly girl. He was a CNC operator at this place that they made plasma TVs. Remember the big, deep 48-inch television sets that had like this weight of 220 to 270 pounds? Like
Yeah.
they were the early 2000s, there was these miserable versions of TVs that they were not for long in this world. They were too ungainly to sell and to transit because they were just weighty as hell, and they were not quality either. The the resolution might be 480p. So
I don't know what all that means. I mean,
they were just a fat, ugly television. Well, my dad and this girl, the girl that dumped me later in life after she had like 6 kids with 5 different daddies. Boy, that was a pothole I missed. Um, the She was working at the same place my dad was, and I met up with her again, and I saw her, and she still had the same cute little dwarfish arms, but she was 5 foot tall. She should have been a dwarf. If she was just 2 inches shorter, she could legally get disability and be a dwarf, but she was too tall. She'd have to wait until like she turned 65 or something, and she'd shrink down. But it was uh, it was funny to see her, but she looked a lot like Winona Ryder. She had a face just exactly like her. Unfortunately, she was 5 foot tall, and what she didn't grow in height, she grew in boobs and ass. One of those
yeah,
miserable hourglass figures. Unfortunately, time has not been kind to her, and she's not been kind to herself. She's not taking care of herself, so she's got like 6 kids and 5 different dads, and all the problems of which. But they built TVs until this place shut down because Decatur, Illinois, cannot be anything but a center for what do you call that? Oh, subsidies. Yes, you throw your money there if you're in Illinois because it's either Chicago or Decatur that receive your money to feed the people that are on EBT, and that will be ceasing starting on October 31st. I'm
yeah,
so
very
happy.
soon. I thought it was November 1st.
Uh, Whichever. When you go to sleep on Halloween, it's going to start. It's going to stop that night. Hi, baby girl. I hope you're well. Um,
Well, I just wanted to say a few things about the movie.
Go
Uh,
ahead. And
I didn't
that
read
was
the book.
my
I
reaction
didn't
to
read
it.
the novel. I never read the novel. It was just something I just never did. I never read it because I was into comic books and, the smaller graphic novels type books. Okay, I never really read, the big novels. But I love vampires. I absolutely love vampires. So anytime a good movie came out like Nosferatu, I went and saw the newer one recently last year and I loved it. I thought it was really good. But I don't expect all the movies to be exactly the same or have the exact same story. The premise to me should be the same about him being cursed to become Dracula, that type of thing. But the story doesn't always have to be exactly the same when it comes to the actual story. Like with Underworld came out, the whole premise of the vampires and the way they run their government, and everything like that. I just think it's very interesting, other people's points of view on it. But this one was different and unique simply because they started it off when with Dracula when he became Dracula and why he became Dracula because he was in love. It was almost like a Romeo and Juliet story, a love story, and she thought he was dead and it wasn't coming back. So she killed herself by jumping off the tower into the water down below and died. And then he came back because he had a feeling that something was wrong because they supposedly had this love connection or whatever. And when he came back and he found her dead, he cursed God for it. He blamed God for him sacrificing all his people and at war and everything for supposedly for the church. And he was given nothing but death. His woman committed suicide thinking he was dead. So that's why he was cursed to become Dracula. And then for the purpose, for whatever reason, he sees the picture that Jonathan Harker has, and he realizes it looks just like his lost love. So it becomes his quest to try to find this woman and make her his own. And I think that was very romantic. But the way that they portrayed Dracula in this was very hideous. I felt it was very scary. It made my skin crawl. I remember the very first couple times I watched it, I had nightmares afterward because it was so creepy and scary, and it was like um, terrifying. The scene where he has Lucy in the garden and he's a half bat monster man creature, but he uses telepathy as power of taking over her life basically in her mind, her will. to make her his own. So basically, he's using his magic on her and not letting her choose to be with him, that type of thing. And
Mhm.
that was what I thought was so interesting, the way that they made Mina want to be with him, because he tells her the truth that he's dead, that he doesn't have a beating heart, that he's not a living person, he's no soul, whatever. And she chooses to drink his blood on her own, and he's enthralled with it. He's so excited by it. So I know that part supposedly wasn't in the book, but I thought it was what made her different than the other women that he had made brides out of, because they basically were duped into losing their souls and becoming you know, his concubines of the evening or whatever, to feed on babies and stuff for eternity, which I thought was horrible. So when Lucy ends up starting to change and is buried in her wedding gown, basically, it was heartbreaking to me, and I still cried today when we watched that scene where she gets out of her crypt and she goes out to find something to eat. And when she's coming down the stairs holding that little toddler in her arms, it was like, it was heartbreaking to me, because you took a young, beautiful woman who was 19, a teenager, and she was about to be wed. And they were laughing, her and Mina were laughing about her almost being 20. And she's an old hag, because back in the 1800s, young girls were married at 16, 15 years old. You were considered a woman.
Oh,
And
nothing to eat? No, enough for me.
the two girls, where they were giggling together at the desk, when Mina was typing her letter. And to me, I love that scene, because I remember sitting with lots of my girlfriends and talking about boys and kissing, and how they might have grabbed our butt or our chest, tried to grab our chest or whatever, in a teenage way. You're 15, 16 years old, talking about it, not really knowing what happens, when you do get together with a guy, what goes on. And a lot of people don't think about that, because by the time you see this movie, you're already, way into that part of your life. But seeing two young women talking about it, and then the book that Mina had, Arabian Nights, I think that was the name of it, and it had drawings in it, and there she was looking at it and going, oh, it's awful. People really do these things, because you don't comprehend exactly what's going on. You're just seeing two people doing something. You're not feeling the emotions and everything that goes with doing all those things, right, in the book. So I loved it. I loved how they made the two girls seem very innocent when it came to those things, but they had their imaginations of balls and gowns and being pretty and having men want them, but they didn't really understand the concept of what it was that men really wanted, that type of thing, especially not someone like Dracula, about what he was looking for. But he was using power of persuasion over her, not the fact that she was getting to choose to do it herself. You see what I mean? That's what's sad and deceitful about the whole thing. And it's heartbreaking in a way, if you're a person that has a heart and you care about people and innocence, people losing their innocence. And the choice of two young teenagers that decide to, you know, do something with each other, like you saw when we watched Romeo and Juliet. They're young, they think they're in love, and when you're a young teenager, you think you know everything, So being with another teenager really isn't, to me, a crime.
So
So
I guess would you be more apt to say like it should be where you have like an 18-year-old girl and like a 30-year-old guy be together? I'm not
I
trying to.
mean, no, I mean, if it's she's old enough to have a job, pay taxes, and buy cigarettes and stuff, I think she's old enough to make a decision if she's 18 years old,
Okay,
even if he's older than her.
that
What I'm
that
trying to say is,
okay.
when when um, he looks at Mina, remember the first time he was going to bite her when they were in that little theater?
Hmm.
And then he changed his mind and decided not to, because he couldn't cross the line, because she looked so much like the woman he was married to and in love with before he became a vampire. His human side came out and said, I don't want to force her against her will to do this, when I love her. You see what I mean? He really cared about her, but the other women were just food. They were just something to use when they needed it. You know what I mean? That type of thing. That was what separated Mina from the other Dracula's brides to me, because there was real emotion in there for Dracula. Even though I'm not saying he's a good guy, he is the bad guy in this movie. He's the one that's causing all the havoc for everything. And then when you see the scene where the young women, the brides, are wanting to feed on Jonathan Harker, and he catches them. Thank goodness he hadn't already drinking their blood or anything, but they were already biting him and pretty much seducing him. And he was in a dream state basically, and he broke it up and told him no, because he needed Jonathan Harker to write letters to Mina so that he would be able to go get her, to keep her available to him. So
I just the part that I have a real problem with is Dracula and him have an established contact. He's never seen Mina before. Never. Has no idea that she looks like Elizabeta. Has no idea she was played by the same actress, etc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when he meets up with her and we get Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder on stage together for their scenes, I mean, one, they're really good together on camera, but two, I just have a hard time with like this is the same problem I have with Twilight or any vampire movie because of Bram Stoker writing this in the book. The movie version here, what we get is like, I've never seen you, heard of you before, up until this guy's letters, possibly in passing. But because I've got you right in front of me, my brain's going to fuck me up and make me think that you look exactly like my lost love from centuries ago. And I love you and blah, 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 blah. That's the part where I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, we got to discuss this. No, and it completely, where other people are might be, I guess, romantic theme based. I'm a poor audience for this,
Mhm.
and I recognize that right away, and I'll even acknowledge it with y'all as a quote unquote a movie critic. But I honestly think that this movie, this part of the movie for me is where it really just jumped off of any narrative rails that the book had, because that wasn't in the book. This was something that Coppola did, and I don't know what was going through his head in 1991 whenever he was putting all this together and getting people ready to act it out on scene on screen before in front of cameras. But for some odd reason, he does this, still keeps Bram Stoker in the name, even though it completely divorced itself from the book at this point for this reason.
But
But
only
you,
partially.
what?
Only partially.
Only partially. This is the part of the book where they don't have anything to do with the book whenever it goes with Mina and Dracula's
But I want
romance.
to ask one question before you go on. How many Dracula movies have you watched that are just like any of the books that you've read?
There's absolutely none of them, and we were talking
Okay,
about
well,
this behind
so
screen.
you're
This is
mad. You're not
probably
making a movie
oh,
because
okay,
you
but
didn't follow the
I'm
book.
I'm mad because Bram Stoker's Dracula is the name of the book,
Hmm.
and I wanted from cover to cover to be on screen. That was how I felt in 1992. Mrs. Jarvis, or Mrs. Janvrin, our English teacher, was going to get an earful because she thought it was great and she will love the movie and blah 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 blah. And I've seen up until this point, when I'm 17 years old, I am 5 vampire movies deep. I even saw The Lost Boys against my mother's wishes, but it didn't make any sense to me as to Dracula walking around London, falls in love with Mina, of all things. No offense. I mean, she's Winona Ryder, really hot girl. Looks a lot like my ex, Heather, but stretched out. Kind of like the
Yeah.
Gumby version of Heather.
Hmm.
Because Heather was 5 foot tall. Winona's like, what, 5'6", 5'8", and somewhere around there. This movie made it completely like it jumps off the rails and makes its own path through the forest, which it's not bad. Up until this point, the movie was really close to the book,
Hmm.
but this is Coppola's take on this story, and I had to accept it. So I've seen this movie like 10 or 12 times since then, Love the movie. It's just not the novel I wanted. None of
Mhm.
the vampire movies are like Bram Stoker's Dracula the novel.
Yeah.
And that's where my own personal preference comes into play. But then also, why is he into her? If I'm a fucking vampire and I've been around for hundreds of years, and then I get out in the real public, my slang is different. My discussions are different. My accent's different.
Mhm.
Worse yet, the things I'm looking for are different. So I guess let me change camera because I think y'all need to see this. Okay, so Dracula finds somebody that might be worthy. She's
Mhm.
probably not going to be hot. She's probably going to be older. She's probably going to be thrilled somebody's taking an interest in her. And she's not going to be a young, virile thing. Yes, it does hurt. Elizabeth was young and attractive and hot,
Yeah.
but you're fucking 5 or 6 or 800 years old. You don't want to hear what a fucking toddler has to say. You don't. I mean, that's why he has the three brides.
Well,
He doesn't.
that might be you. That might be the way you feel, but what I feel and what I felt when I watched the movie was a man who, as soon as he saw the picture on the desk, the painting, in his little frame that he had, he instantly remembered his wife and why he was where he was. And maybe at that moment, he was thinking that if I can get her, I can get my life back. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why he fell in love with her. But he saw her. He didn't fall in love with Mina. He didn't even know her. He fell in love with what he had before. And he
I
was
agree with that.
thinking it was her. And it was her reincarnated. Because if you're a person and now you're a Dracula and you drink people's blood for eternity and you can't die and you can turn into a mist, you can turn into a creature, it can turn into rats, bats, whatever he wants, basically anything that a creature of the night. uh, I mean, he's pretty much done everything there is to do except live life,
Yeah,
right?
he went off to
Now
fall.
he's got the itch to have a woman that he wants to caress, he wants to hold, and he wants to fly through the night with. You see what I mean? Totally different than his brides. These are just women that he got, just like Lucy. Yeah, she was fun, tasted good for a few minutes or whatever. Now she'll do whatever I tell her because she has to. I'm her owner. See what I mean? So now he's trying to get a woman to get her to fall in love with him because she reminisces of or reminds him of what he had before he died when he was a real virile man, right? And
Mhm.
now if he can get her back and she falls in love with him and wants to be with him and chooses to be a vampire, totally different circumstances. So to me, I could see why he became enamored with her and was doing whatever he could. Because remember when he went there in her bedroom and he went into under the covers as a mist, and then she saw and he talked to her and told her what he really was. At first she hits him and she's mad and angry with him because she said, you killed my friend Lucy, you know,
Mhm.
you're a monster or whatever. And then she realizes that the excitement or whatever it is, because she's young, she's 18 years old, she's a teenager, she's not even what we consider now a grown woman. A lot of people are married at 18. I mean, it just depends on the person. But in the movie, we're thinking that she's just in love with him because maybe she is reincarnated. You see what I mean? She says she feels like she's known him her whole life. She's always dreamed about him, things like that. So there's a hint of her being reincarnated. Because a lot of people do believe in that. So all I'm saying is that's where I took it when I
Just,
watched the movie.
just
Why
because
it
a
was so
lot of
romantic to me.
just because
So
a lot of women saw Twilight and enjoyed it, it doesn't make it a valid movie that's actually good.
yeah,
And nor does it make
Twilight was a
30
totally
Shades of
different story.
Grey a viable, or 50 Shades Grey a viable book that you should all read.
Mhm.
It's garbage. Um, I'm of the mindset that I I didn't understand why he fell in love with her. I could see him going for like a scholar or for somebody that would have like had the ability to talk to him. at least on a level. This girl didn't. She was a fucking hamburger. Goddamn snack. That's all she fucking was. And that's the problem with the movie that I have. That's the romance in this movie kills it from the 90s. It doesn't allow it bars entry into the 90s. What I'll tell you that I love about the film is everything else. Everything else about this movie is fan fucking tastic. I don't know why people have a problem with this movie, in a large part because you have Carrie Hughes in a very early role. This is like right after he did uh, the movie that we all enjoy, and he was starting in his adult career at the time, which
Hmm.
sadly a lot of us forget that he's had a career since the 90s. He was in the first Saw movie. Do you remember that?
Yes. I
Okay.
told you when I went to Vegas, I did the Saw, room where we went in and we had to escape, and we had to do different puzzles and stuff to get through the whole thing. And it was all set up theatrical, like with stuff from the movie. And at the end, there was a bathtub and there was a person in there with their leg chained, and we were trying to find the key and a whole bunch of other different clues to get out. And we only had 12 seconds
It would
before
be
we were
so cool if they would have the Saw experience with a guy that was actually an amputee, but they had made him up to look like he had a leg in a bear trap, and you had to save
Mhm.
him within that amount of
Yeah.
time. And if not, he would just tear free, and his amputee portion wouldn't be seen. It would just like utterly scare the shit out of you and make you
It
fucking
was scary
die.
though. It was fun, but yeah, I did that. It was great.
God.
And he
So
had the guy with the tricycle and everything. It was really, really good and very well done. And I could see them doing something like that. I'm sure they probably do have escape rooms with a whole Dracula theme in it.
no, no, no. I want the gore. I want to have a place where amputees can go and have a job 8 hours a day. You just filter people through this room, and either they help you escape and you limp to safety with your prosthetic leg because you're
Mhm.
an amputee, or if they don't do it right, then you fucking get whatever it is, and the fucking clamp comes down, and it hurts, or it breaks the prosthetic, and everybody gets bathed in blood, and they have to pull themselves away because otherwise you're going to face certain doom, quote unquote, or whatever. But I would love to have a place where we could hire amputees and use them with their fake spurty prosthetics, because I think that would be so fucking cool. And I would love to see the people come out of the escape rooms just fucking traumatized, like little kids that had go see Santa for the first time, and Santa smells like whiskey or something, or just it's not the right Santa. He had sharp pointed teeth. I
Mhm.
fucking love that. Maybe I'm a terrible person, really. I don't give a shit. But I want that. That's the experience I want to share with everybody. No, nobody touched me at an early age. Anyway, this this movie it sets on so many fucking pedestals, so many high watermarks. I don't even like to focus on the fact that you have Elizabeth in Dracula's mind, walking around with him still 800 years or 1,000 years later in London. Dude, that's Mina. That's Mina. And
Remember,
I, as
time probably was different for him.
yeah, after fucking 1,000 years by himself with the three same women who, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
but we don't know how fast he got the women. He could have gotten one way early, and then he would probably be have more affection toward the first one. Remember the Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman? Remember that
very
one?
well.
Okay. Remember the way the oldest bride that had been with him the longest, the one with the long brown hair, how they had a little more conversation and stuff between the two, the Dracula and her, compared to the other two brides. You
Yeah,
could tell that she was a little higher up on the totem pole than the other girls were. They had a rapport, a little more of a rapport. And I think that it would change over time depending on whether or not that Dracula was, or that vampire was, uh, into having conversations. If he just wants to brood and fly around and kill, He's not going to be that much on having conversation with his brides. And maybe that's not why he wanted each bride. Maybe he chose different brides depending on what was going on at the time with him. I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Just because they're not living, they're not human, basically, wanting to have babies and get a job and all that, doesn't mean they don't have things they're still interested in. You know what I mean? Remember the movie with Sean Connery, the Gentleman Club or whatever it was called? Like, I'm trying to remember the name of it.
You extraordinary gentleman.
Yeah, The Extraordinary Gentleman. And the gentleman, Dorian Gray, who had the painting of himself, and as long as he didn't see himself in his painting, he would live forever. He was untouchable, basically. He couldn't die or anything like that. So look at him. He was like a vampire. He just didn't have to drink blood, right? So what would he do each day? His life must have been very boring over hundreds of years of having no one that you could love and hold forever. So that's what I'm thinking about when I think about this situation with Dracula, a woman who actually wanted to be with him, that asked him to make her a vampire so she could love him forever and be with him until eternity, so they could do things together. So when you see her in the front of the castle when she's calling up the storm, he's impressed by it. He's excited by it because she's actually using some of the powers to protect him from the bad guys. You see what I mean? It was a different type. The women weren't out there. The brides weren't out there doing anything for him. You see what I mean? So they didn't have the connection that supposedly she had, and the choice that she had made to be with him, even though she hadn't, become, I guess, a full-fledged vampire yet, because she hadn't taken someone's life. She was still willing to help him get away. She was doing something. She was using some of her massive magical stuff that she's starting to have because now she's a vampire, that type of thing. So to me, that's how I was looking at it for their relationship. She was more of a actual wife, not just a concubine. See what I mean? And I think that's what he was looking for. He was wanting more. I don't know.
I'm kind of confused on some things because I don't understand. I guess maybe I'm just thinking of him as a man here, because he's already got 3 fine ass brides that wait around in a satin mattress for you to lay down, and then, like a fucking magician's trick, which is what it is, they literally come up from between the mattresses and present themselves to you and cuddle and lick and suck and do whatever vampire chicks do. And they've been around him for a while. They know the things he wants. They're like, hey, Dracula, you want me to fist your asshole? Oh, hey, Dracula, you want me to pinch your
yeah,
fucking...
but how much sex can you actually have after 1,000 years? You know what I mean? Is it still just as much fun as it was the first couple times?
Every long-term relationship I've known about, as time goes on, they don't, if they continue to have sex with each other, they don't continue to do the same vanilla they started with. They start to branch out a little bit. First, it's a little bit of Rocky Road. Then it's a little bit of the chocolate vanilla swirl. Then they start doing all these other different fun sexual flavors. And like when they explain to you what they might be doing to each other, like that's borderline German porn. You realize that, right? And they're like, shh, I've been with him for 30 years. So it's okay for them to do that to each other. They trust each other. There's love. There's romance. And I'm thinking that.
But how can you have love and romance with the 3 brides that he wasn't in love with and that weren't in love with him? He just found some woman he thought was attractive and made her his. She didn't have the choice. That's what I'm talking about with Mina. The difference between Mina and those girls was one that he actually courted. He took her out to dinner and he did things with her because he was trying to get her. He was trying to woo her, just like what happened in Legend. Remember when Darkness was trying to woo her?
Yes.
And when she'd fight him, he'd get really pissed off and he'd wanted to force her, but but he still stepped back because
Step back and allow her to
he
choose it.
longed for love. He wanted real love, and I think that's what the same premise to me is what I get for Dracula with Mina, because he wants to have what he had before he became Dracula. He wants love. He wants someone to spend the rest of his life with, a love that will never die, basically. But because she did care about him, she was willing to put him out of his misery and let him um, heal.
Okay,
You know?
so I'm going to just come off the standpoint. I'm just going to stay on my standpoint that the scriptwriter for this movie cannot write romance, and I'm going to stick by it. It's fine.
That's
It's
fine.
okay, and I appreciate everybody's concerns, but Bram Stoker was a fine author. James V. Hart was the additional writer that added to the story that I don't feel needed to be added to. But for a movie, this movie comes out pretty okay. Is it
Mhm.
my favorite version of Dracula? To a point, yes, it is, because of everything else, like the sets, the fucking set design, the music, the fact they use everything in camera. I think there's only one thing they use that's not in camera. They add like the blue eyes, I think, on the train ride,
Mhm.
and that's the only thing that's an additive part to this. That's the only post production they really need to do.
Well,
Everything
the
else,
only thing that I read that they added was the flames.
was it the eyes of the flames
It was the flames. I didn't read that the eyes were contact lenses.
on the train ride
Hmm.
when he's
On the along outside on the ground for the stagecoach and for the train. But you can read it. As far as I could tell, the flames were the only thing they added. So.
the blue flames seen on the road are detail mentioned in the book. And in the novel, it was explained that on one night every year, the blue flames are seen over areas containing hidden treasures. And in that scene from the novel, Harker's coach driver stops several times to place rocks over them as markers in order to find them in daytime and possibly be able to dig up treasure.
Mhm.
With Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder don't get along well on set, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Go ahead and talk about something as I'm
Okay,
digging.
well, I'm going to bring up the whole thing about the brides.
Okay.
His brides, something I was reading about. It says all three are seductive vampire sisters in the story, right?
Okay.
But in this, it says that in his novel, the brides of Dracula are introduced as three alluring female vampires who live in Dracula's castle. They are often referred to as weird sisters and are depicted as both beautiful and deadly, seducing men before feeding on them. And their presence adds a layer of horror and sensuality to the narrative. But the one thing I thought was interesting about these three brides is like what you were just saying. Okay, the narrative you used was, oh, you got three hot brides, right?
Mhm.
At over 1,000 years, you'd want hot women. You know, they had to be
Yeah.
gorgeous. But why would he have two brunettes? You know, and a
Is he,
blonde.
are
Why
you
would he want
forcing
to
him to
have a
pick a
redhead, a brunette? You know, one of each color. You know what I mean?
no,
And
no,
different skin colors and all the different
absolutely not.
selection of beautiful women that you could have.
Janet,
So I'm just
yeah,
saying you can go way out there and
good.
say that, or the fact that he chose them simply because of whatever their interest was, or what something about them attracted him, and then
Okay,
he
well,
decided to make them a wife.
he had a kill. He had killed hundreds of men in battle.
Hmm.
Okay, and who's to say that maybe he wasn't a little bit of a sadist or a degenerate, and he was hacking hair off. He might have a whole collection of wigs in the halls of his castle. We don't know. But you don't need to grab a redhead just to complete your sexual harem of the brunette, the blonde, and redhead. I don't
Hmm.
need to have crazy in my house. I can just get a wig, and one of you other three ladies can wear this. Just act a little crazy. Give me a little bit of winky eye, like that one girl that's dating Trudeau, and I'll be happy. And that'd be that'd be about it. You don't need to collect crazy. You don't need to have it live in your house. I mean, fuck, if I had a castle like that, and I invited a crazy and three women to live with me, that within the like 2 years time it'd be rubble. It'd look like Gaza.
Well, I also liked the variety of characters they had in the movie. I loved that they picked Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing. He was very creepy yet entertaining and interesting to for me when I was watching him. Using his different points of view, he seemed very logical, almost like a Sherlock Holmes, like when you saw him in the school, in the university or whatever, and he was doing the speech about the vampire bat, and the way the guys were all beating on the table instead of clapping their hands after the class was over. Basically, little details like that I thought were really, really good. The costumes were just phenomenal. I just love anything in that, and the way they filmed on the streets, and the different angles they used, because they'd go up a little bit so you could see the rooftops and stuff, and then the dark clouds, the ominous clouds around all the time. Little things like that I just loved his the way he used angles and stuff in his direction as a director. I really enjoyed that. And the music was definitely really good because it didn't take me out of any scene. I didn't feel like it was overly done to pull me away from what I was already involved in for the movie. And the scene, the seductive scene with the brides where he falls back on the bed, was very interesting. And they did use a couple of magicians, and then had them show them different techniques on how to get the woman to rise up out of the bed and to lift up off the bed, and the different things that they use for that. It was all done with magician tricks,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Yeah.
love because I love practical illusions and stuff in movies instead of making it all CGI. I'd rather see prosthetics and like when you got me to watch that Black Sheep movie. I mean, it was really good, and to know, getting to watch the behind the scenes and seeing the way that they came up with different ideas to make things happen on screen. It's You just don't see that anymore, and that's the sad truth about the future of movies. Is AI is going to take over, where you don't have to spend time making a costume, because they just type it in on a computer, and the whatever woman you want to be the actress is going to be the actress, and you don't need to sew and do makeup or use fake eyelashes or anything anymore. Everything is going to be just at the end of a keyboard, and you won't even know. So that's going to be sad because we're going to lose the art of that type of special effects, that are done by actual people to make it believable, like what they do. Hopefully, I guess it'll just go back to being, on Broadway and in plays and stuff. You'll have to go to a play or something to actually see that kind of stuff anymore, because once uh, you know people start doing everything with AI for movies and TV commercials or whatever else, I just think it's going to go out the window. There won't be schools teaching it anymore. You won't need to go to acting school, because all you got to do is take your picture, put it in a computer, and whammo, you're an actor. You just have to have the right programs. Same thing with music. Everything, art, everything's going to be going to AI, and you won't have to worry about being able to do anything. It will be a bunch of people like in, what was the name of that movie with the little robot, Wally? While everybody's flying around up there waiting for the Earth to come back, and they're all just getting heavier and heavier, and they don't have to do anything for themselves. You don't have to grow food or anything, because everything is prepared for you because of computers. So
Cotton Ministries adds something here I really have to add.
Mhm.
The concubines really don't matter. They're just there for him to dip into every little bit. And the thing is that they weren't really, I guess, his intention, but there's parts of them that remind him of Elspeth or Elizabeth or whatever. It's supposed to be Elspeth, I believe.
Yeah.
But they remind him of his lost love, but they don't nearly complete the package. Apparently, Mina completes that, and I still have the problem. Like, why would you date something that's like so much younger than you? Like, I'm 50. I would not date a 20-year-old.
Well,
Just
you wouldn't, because you're alive. Okay, one of the reasons is you got to remember He's never going to have children. And that came out when he had that conversation with Jonathan Harker at the dinner when he said, "I'm the last of our people," and he knows he'll never make another person. He's never going to have a child that's born from his seed. It's over. It's done. They're gone. And even if he had a woman, he's not going to have children. And that's a devastating thing for any man and some women. That's what our whole reason for being put on this planet is to make more of us, to pass on our seed to the next generation, and teach our traditions and things like that. I mean, that's what life is all about. You know what I mean? For everyone, for every tribe, for every clan, it's who's going to take over when you're gone. That's the whole reason for living. And when he saw her, the feelings of being a man again, a human man, came back, and that was what made him want to be with Mina. And the fact that at the end, when she accepts it and says she wants to be with him forever, it was the same thing as her jumping off the tower to be with him in death. See, it's the same story unfolding again. And that's what made it romantic. That's why the people weren't happy with the ending that Hardwick was telling us about. The other ending, they changed it. They reshot that whole scene, and the only reason she wanted to come back is because she got to chop his head off. I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying. And I feel that was the whole purpose for Dracula to want her, is because she reminded him of what it was to be in love. A love that's worth dying for. She died for him, right? And then he sacrificed his will for God and everything he had just went through fighting for the church, and he gave it all up. He denounced God and became a Dracula. So that all for love. Okay. And he lived thousands of years, or 1,000 years that way. And just like he said, I traveled across oceans of time for you, because he was still madly in love with her. The memory of her, of what they once had. That's a really powerful romance. And I know it sounds corny, but every woman dreams of that. That's all we want. We want romance. We want a man that we feel will love us till the day we die, no matter what we look like as we age, and wants to buy us flowers or pick flowers from the garden and give them to us. The corny little things is what women love. I'm a woman, and I love that. I mean, if a guy got down on one knee and gave me a flower he picked out of the garden, in my kitchen or whatever, I would probably cry. I think that kind of thing is romantic, and I know men think it's stupid, but that's what women want. Women love romance, and even if it's just between her and her man and no one else ever sees it, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that she feels it in her heart that he's willing to do this for me. He's willing to sing to me even though he can't sing. She won't say, "Oh, you sing horribly. I don't ever want you to sing for me again." She's going to dance around with him in the kitchen or whatever because she loves him. That's why she's with him. And hopefully that's why he's with her. And if they can't, you can't have sex every single day when you're married. It's just not, it's impossible. You got work, maybe you have kids now, you have pets, you have household duties. What are you going to do when you're not having sex? You got to have something in common. And that is where love comes in. That's why it's important.
Gentlemen, listen, she's speaking silliness. You should always try to have affection every day. If you can't have zug, at least go for the affection.
Yeah, hold hands, hugs.
Get the kid some fucking Benadryl, throw him in the crib, and then right in the kitchen as she's doing the dishes, eat her ass.
Do something. Just be romantic. Women love it.
Tell you what, children's Benadryl will save your marriage.
Well, and good food. If you can cook a good steak, and she'll be willing to do whatever. If you cook her a good meal and tell her how gorgeous she is and how much you thought about her all day, believe me, she'll want to take care of you. That's what women do when they love you. So, but the thing is, that's what I believe. I believe this story was romance about a long lost love, and she was reincarnated or whatever, whatever angle you want to put on it. And at the very end, when she chopped off his head, she freed him
Now,
because she cared enough about him. Then she went back to being the normal, everyday Mina that she always was when she met Jonathan in the first place, and got to go back and be the wife that she was meant to be with her husband. And
yeah,
he went through a buttload of shit to get back to her, which proved that he loved her. Even though people said, well, he was sleeping with all them vampire women. I was like, it wasn't his choice. He was forced to do those things because they used the mind control and stuff. Just like I said, the poor women that were the brides of Dracula, they didn't give their life to him. He just took them, just like he took Lucy. And then she was doomed to go out and find babies and children and kill them every day. That was horrible. I cried. It was so sad. That was a horrible thing. And the scene where Dracula brought that, you saw him crawling down the side of the building. It was really gross and just satanic looking. And he comes back and he brings him a little newborn baby and feeds it to those three brides. That was just disgusting. But I like the fact that they put that in there because instead of it being like Romeo and Juliet, you actually got to see how demonic he really was. He sold his soul to the devil, and now he feeds on the living. So I just wanted you to remember that yes, it's romantic, but he is now Satan, basically. You know, a
I
demon.
I honestly feel like this is this is a great movie. This is the same caliber of film as Excalibur
Hmm.
with John Borman as the director. I love both of these films. Excalibur differentiates itself from the usual telling of King Arthur
Hmm.
because in the book or in the myths, King Arthur faces up off against his son, and his son has Excalibur or has a sword,
Hmm.
and King Arthur tells his squire, "Get me a sword. I'm not killing him with Excalibur. Don't do that. That's my son. He's going to try to kill me. Let me kill him with a different blade. I don't want to damn him." But in the movie by John Borman, Mondane comes up with a spear and he jams it through his father's chest, and then Excalibur's unsheathed. King Arthur whirls it about and beheads his son.
Hmm.
Now, both the myth of King Arthur and this movie, Excalibur, excellent. I love Excalibur, the movie. I really do. I don't feel it's superior to the myth, but I honestly feel that for vampire film, this movie does a very good job. And you do illustrate some really good points. I'm not changing my perspective on it because I'm a man and I have a penis, and romance doesn't really screw me too much.
Okay, I understand that.
It doesn't. It will never. It will never get me to think that this movie and Near Dark are very close, if not almost equals. This movie has a lot more money, has a lot better set design, has miniatures used so frequently. Now, granted, you don't have a shootout in a hotel room with sunlight coming in and the vampires trying to dodge the beams of sunlight like you do in Near
Yeah.
Dark. And I fucking love that because every time they catch a beam of sunlight, you see a little flame pop up on their arm. And then you have the little 8-year-old or 9-year-old boy running along that he all he wanted was a companion, so he wanted to turn that guy's little sister into a vampire. And at the end of the movie, he's just running along the road, just completely engulfed in flames. Fucking amazing. If you have not seen Near Dark, go watch Near Dark too. Near Dark is a fucking great Halloween movie. But this movie here, as far as vampire films are concerned, this is probably the apex I've seen. I've not seen Nosferatu, the last year release. I'd like to, but I've not yet. So don't give me too much shit. I'm still catching up on 2022 movies, okay? And there's a couple in there that I do want to see. Um, Not many. I keep bumping into things like this where like, oh, remember this movie? Yeah, Bruce, there was no CGI in Dracula 1992. There was nothing outside of the camera except for the blue flames as the carriage ride is going in because they had to add that. That was the only thing added into the movie other than what was in the camera already. But this film does such a good job of showing you the Victorian lifestyle, and it does a very good job. The where I will applaud the writers and Francis Ford Coppola is by taking the love letter to the Victorian era, which you guys know is a book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's a love letter to Victorian era lifestyle. It really is. It does a very good job of showcasing the lifestyle and what you would have and the liabilities and just the culture between the women folk, and they're talking about how it's going to be like when they're ladies and they're married and they got kids. And then it shows you the men's lifestyle and how men, they haven't changed worth a shit, because you know what, we still talk together, we still talk about the same banal things that we talk about now. Nothing's changed.
Mhm.
Nothing has changed at all. And it's such a good movie. It showcases everything that I would want to see in a Victorian era film. This does a really good job of it. This has got so much heart and soul to this movie, even with the wooden acting of Keanu Reeves. And then reading today that they were wanting to get Johnny Depp in here, but then they thought, no, Keanu Reeves is a bigger heartthrob. I don't remember Keanu Reeves being a heartthrob in 1992. I remember every fucking locker I passed by in middle school to high school, all the girls had Johnny Depp or Ralph Macchio pinups from Tiger Beat in their locker. Or if they had a picture of Ralph Macchio from like People magazine, up that went in the locker. Like that, I remember that. I don't remember Keanu Reeves being the big thing, being the big draw.
Well, can I say something about Keanu real quick?
Go ahead.
I thought he was better actor in this movie than he was in the other one that we did, Dangerous Liaisons. I thought
Yes,
he was way
Dangerous
worse an
Liaison.
actor in that than he was in this one, especially when we got to watch the outtakes that Hardwick showed us, because the problem was is a lot of his acting ended up being cut out.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So he didn't really get to shine, showing that he was a hero. Because honestly, if you think about it, what he went through, because when he left, he looked like he was 12. I mean, he looked very young. He was very thin. He had his hair perfect. He was trying to be an up and coming lawyer, to be a good husband and be a daddy one day for his new young fiance. And he leaves and he goes there and he ends up staying for a month, way longer than what he thought he was going to stay. And he was trying to be prim and proper and a good man, and then he ends up being duped and fed on. Basically, is so weak that he could barely walk around, and he was all his love for Mina was the only thing that kept him hanging on, because all he could think of was, I got to get back, I got to get out of here, I'm gonna die. And his love for Mina was so strong that he jumped out of a window into the water. And then if it hadn't been for those nuns that found him or whatever, he probably wouldn't have lived. So they demanded that she come before he was even well enough to get married, so that it would save her, because they were worried uh, about the story that he had told the nuns. See, they didn't give him enough time to show him blossom, just show his character arc, I feel.
I
In this
agree.
movie.
I agree.
But I thought he did a way better job when he did actually act and was on screen. I thought he did a supreme job for the small amount of time he was on there, compared to the other movies that I've seen him in. So I'm lucky to have had something to compare him to. But
There's a
he
lot
definitely
of
was better in this one.
bad Keanu Reeves performances. I mean, not that he was ever a quality actor. The first
He's
movie I
more of
remember
an action
him,
hero.
yeah, he really was. Even though he started in comedy, which it wasn't really a good comedy. It was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which
I've never seen it, so I
they
never did watch
that
him.
was that was supposed to be kind of like an homage or a thank you to Back to the Future. And at first, they were supposed to do instead of the traveling phone booth that went through time, they were supposed to use like a mystery machine van. But then they were coming out with Scooby Doo movies, and they're like, no, we can't use a mystery machine van because then people will be like, we're copying off that. So they made it a phone booth like what you'd find outside of Circle K,
Yeah.
and that was Keanu's first big role. But then the movie got shelved for like a year and a half, and in that time, nothing was really happening with him or it. He was still trying to do stuff. He did a few small independent movies like King of Philadelphia or something like that, Lord of Philadelphia, some Pennsylvania town. He was the man of,
Hmm.
and it was not a bad movie. It's independent film, so your mileage may vary, but it's not horrible. It's relatable, very much a relatable show. And then when it finally does come out in I think 88 or 89, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is just a fucking hit. And then that launched off some things. Alex Winter never really ascended into movie stardom, and eventually he started doing documentaries, which he did one on the dark web that Keanu Reeves kind of said, "Hey, I'll narrate this for you as a thank you and help me get my career started." So
Hmm.
they kind of got back together. That was a few years ago. But Alex Winter is a really fun actor to watch. He's also one of the main vampires in The Lost Boys, and he's done some other things. There was a show called The State, I think he was a part of on MTV when MTV tried doing comedy, and it wasn't that good. It was okay if you're a teenager. It's not if you've got a brain that can function. It's not really that good. But if you were an '80s teenager, yeah, you probably enjoyed it. But I really like Keanu Reeves mainly for the fact that his persona, he's always persisted that he seems to be a decent guy. It doesn't hurt that in 2014 he literally took the idea behind the Expendables where we take an aging hero and we force him back into the limelight again with John Wick. And he does such a fucking excellent job in the John Wick movies that, no matter what, he's always going to be a guy that kind of showcases like you can be an old man in a dangerous profession, but just make sure that you've got the ability to stand up to whatever happens to you.
Hmm.
And it's a very, very fun series of movies. If you've not seen the four John Wick movies, they're very good. But are they realistic? No. But they're good movies. Enjoy your popcorn, and that's how I view they should be viewed. Um, Keanu Reeves is up until that point he was not a good actor. He wasn't that great. Seeing this in 1992, if that would have been on the director's cut, I would have loved it. I would have loved to watch that because he actually does act in this movie. It's on a cutting room floor.
Well, like I was going to say, is that um, if you wanted a faithful, view of the book, then you're probably not going to be really happy with this movie. But if
If
you want a visually stunning movie, that that reinterprets the whole story of Dracula in a different light, but still keeps lots of the aspects of the horror of what it would be like to actually be a vampire. What you have to do to survive, what you have to eat, your cravings that you can't control. Um, it's just sadness to me. It's death all around you. That just like you said, it's so much death. That's all there is, death, because you're dead yourself, and you're longing for life again. So at the end, I loved how they made this beam of light come down on his face, and you see his hideous, horrible presence of what he looked like as the old, horrible, old, shriveled up vampire, uh, thousands years old, and then he changes a little bit into the bat-like monster that's demonic looking, and then all of a sudden you see his young appearance of what he looked like when he first was married to his wife. And so you get to see him transform back into a man, just like you got to see, in the werewolf lore. So in a way, it's showing you he's transitioning back into a human, right? So he gets back his soul, basically. He gets back his humanity, you know, before he's gone, before he actually passes away, and then he dies, getting to look at the love of his life, because that's what he believes that she is. So he's redeemed almost, and as you see the cross that he stabbed with the sword out of anger that first cursed him in the first place, got him cursed, it heals, right? So I don't know. I just really liked that part, and I can see why they wanted to make that ending. Uh, and also the wonderful wedding that they made for when Mina and Jonathan were married in the church with the nuns. Uh, I thought it was very believable for the type of wedding that they would have. Very simple. Um, and religious, and they're following the different steps, uh, with the headdresses and the drinking, of the wine and all that different stuff. I really enjoyed all of that because it made it more authentic of why. To me, it proved to me even more how much Jonathan loved her, because he was afraid for her. He thought that if she was married, that he would no longer be interested in her. That he felt maybe when she was not uh, an unsoiled woman, that he wouldn't be interested in her, that maybe that they only are interested in young virgin women or something. So he was doing the best he could to protect her, and by her being there with him, I mean, he knows he can't fight Dracula. He was just there, he knows how horrible it was on him, and that he almost died because of it. So I just thought that was all of that was good for me as a woman to see the love of two men that extremely loved Mina, but in two different aspects of the way they loved them. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
loved the same woman, but it's the way each of them were treated her. And I like that. I thought that's now. Apparently, a lot of other people felt the same way because they changed the ending that they had to this one, the what we just watched in this movie, the theatrical version that we got to see, and they liked it too. So you know that proves the point that romance will win almost every time if you're going to have a mixed audience. Now if it's strictly made just for guys, it's going to be a movie like, what was that one that you guys liked, the Thousands of Beavers? That's the kind of movie
You
you're going to
you
make.
really need to watch that movie in full because that's a very romantic film. That
Well,
movie
what I
has
mean is
complete arc.
it's a man's movie. It's a movie
It's
that
not
men
a
can
man's
sit
movie.
and
That's a comedy movie. You need to understand that movie is made for both sexes, and it's primarily catered to people that have been on a computer or video game before, because there are some things that the guy does to kind of level up and to get better at killing beavers. And then the challenge that the father says, if you want to marry my daughter, you have to kill hundreds of beavers because their beavers are just ruining everything up in the Great White North. It's a wonderful film, and the man ascends to the challenge. He does what Janet wants. He conquers, and
Mhm.
he does win her love, and he wins her father's approval. That is a great movie. There's also some other really good movies out there that I think we need to explore, because there are some things that you as people should be aware of, and for the purposes of fair use. uh, Let me see if I can find this.
Well, the thing is, I enjoyed Keanu Reeves, his portrayal of Jonathan Harker. I thought his age, uh, his mannerisms, and everything fit Mina's character. She was a mousy character. She's supposed to be a mousy character because she was what? Like a school teacher. She's using a typewriter. She's very studious. And her and me, what was her name again? Damn it. Lucy were friends since they were children. So that's why they were friends, not because their parents were friends. Okay, it was friends in school. They met apparently at this nice school they was going to, and that's how they became friends. So I like the whole aspect of two different, totally type of women. One very demure, and the other one very outgoing and beautiful, fiery red hair, Men were very attracted to her because she was beautiful. She was breathtaking. And even though in the book, apparently she wasn't so flamboyant, I had friends that were like that. They were very pretty. And the whole thing about looking at the books, because I always hear all these stories about how these guys snuck their dad's Playboy or their Hustler, and they kept it under their mattress and stuff like that when you were 12 and 13 years old. Well, guess what? Girls looked at pictures too. That doesn't mean we understood it as much as guys might have, because you might have had someone explain things to you. I was raised in a house where my mother really didn't tell us anything. I remember my mother sitting down with my sister 3 nights before she was going to get married and trying to explain to her about birth control and all different kinds of things. So I guess it's different in every household, depending on what religion you are, what church you go to, uh, what your lifestyle is. All those things matter, I think. Because believe it or not, there's still young people that get married today that had never been together. They might have made out and things like that because they felt that it wasn't proper. So there's still people that do that. There's still people that go to church and try to raise their kids morally to where you give yourself to the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And you don't just, it's not swipe left or swipe right every weekend, like it is for some people. So it just depends on each person. But maybe that's one reason why I really love old movies that are made in this uh, era, like in 1800s, 1700s, things like that, because they were less likely to be, perverted when it came to some of the things that you see today with, on TV and things like that. Just like we saw in this movie, the only way they could see their loved one was to look at a photograph or a painting, a painting of the person. They didn't have voicemail, you didn't have video chat, you didn't have any of this stuff. So it was in your mind. And sometimes when you had a man that was maybe in the military, he was in the Navy, and he met you when you were 16, and you decide you're going to go steady, and he's 18 or whatever, and he goes off and comes back a year later, and he hasn't seen you in a whole year, and now you look different, things like that. That you don't have that anymore. You don't even have to wait until you have your baby now. You already know what sex baby you're going to have. You can have your nursery ready. Everything's now, 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 now. So getting to watch some of these older movies that show the experiences of what it might have been like to have lived then, I wish more people could watch them, because I really think that a lot of people don't realize just how hard it was to live. And honestly, I really do believe that being alive for 1,000 years or whatever and doing the same thing in and day out, yeah, it would have to be boring, very boring. So that's why I always like like I said earlier, the Dorian Gray's character, how he was uh, out and about doing things. He was always out doing stuff, and he was active, and he progressed, with his future. That's one thing you could say about Dracula's character. When Jonathan Harker went to see him, he really didn't progress. You could tell by the way he lived in his home that he wasn't an up to date vampire, like you would see in some of the other vampire movies where the vampire, like what was it, Fright Night? He had a really
Mhm.
nice house. He was good looking. He cut his hair. He dressed, like people did that go to to go out to dancing on the weekend, things like that. So it's all in the point of view of the person who writes the story of what their vampire is going to be like, or their werewolf story, or whatever it is. But I really like this. I like the classic vampire romance, basically. Unlike Twilight, which was made in a modern era, it just depends on the story. But I love this one. I thought it was really well done. I thought I hadn't read the book, so I didn't have that to compare it to. I loved the characters. I loved the characters' stories. I loved how the characters interacted. How the three gentlemen that were all wanting the same to propose to the same woman, how they were all friends and how they worked together, even though two of them weren't going to be the ones marrying her. They still wanted to help because they had feelings for her still, and they looked up to each other. The men did. They had respect for each other. That type of thing. I really enjoyed that because you just don't see that much anymore. You see one guy's rivalry over the other. It's like, what a dick! I hate that guy. I'm gonna sabotage him. I'm gonna dox him. It's so immature and stuff compared to what men were supposed to be like back then at the age of 20. They're very mature. They thought differently. So
Well, I mean, you're also having to be responsible for things. You've got chores. You probably are responsible for helping clean up the things that you've hunted and getting them ready for your family to consume.
mhm.
There's a difference between the by the bootstraps living that we had back in the
Yeah.
Victorian era versus now. When if I'm hungry, I can procrastinate for 2 hours, then run over to McDonald's in 3 minutes. It's just that's how we are. We operate differently than what our ancestors did, and that's kind
Yeah.
of a shame because I would much rather all of us be able to have like a freezer full of food that we hunted,
Mhm.
or at least how to butcher a cow.
Mhm.
Um,
Or someone who does,
yeah,
that you can get it.
maybe you can trade it because you have a different trade. Maybe you can give him like some new shoes for his horses or something. I don't know, but I think this movie is really good. I don't like the fact that they call it Bram Stoker's Dracula because of things I've discussed before. Shadow hit on that in one of his complaints,
Well,
which I got it. Why call
that
it
was
huge?
one of the other things I wanted to bring up about the whole mind control thing. Okay, because you knew that what's his name? The guy that ate the bugs. What do you call him again?
You mean the guy in the crazy house,
Yeah, the crazy house.
Renfield?
Renfield. Okay. Renfield's character in this, uh, with the doctor, his doctor was connected to Lucy. So impressions that Renfield would get from his doctor might um, go to Dracula. So that might be one reason why he was intrigued by Lucy because she was wanted by so many other men. What does every man want? What a man can't have. Okay, so he's going to take it from them. He's going to stop them from being able to get it. Her basically, he's going to take her before they could have her. That kind of thing. But the thing is that when Renfield was talking about how she was given his life, his life of everlasting life that he was promised by Dracula. So, all these different aspects and how they all intertwined with each other too, to me, I thought was very, very well done. And you have to watch the movie honestly more than once to be able to understand how connected all the characters were, through how extreme each of the characters were too when it came to certain aspects of what they were doing and why they were in the movie. I thought that was really, really, really good how they were able to do that because I loved Anthony Hopkins, but I love Anthony Hopkins anyways, right? But I loved him as Van
This
Helsing. It
is
was
the
very
first
dramatic.
movie I remember him in.
Hmm.
This is the first movie I really remember him being in where they were showcasing his acting ability. Maybe there's an entire resume of films he's got before this, but in 92 this was like the movie where everybody was talking about him, and he had just been in that movie with Jodie Foster, Not Sleeping with the Enemy. That's the girl with a smile, Julia Roberts. There was a movie Jodie Foster did where she plays an FBI agent, and she's it puts the lotion on skin. You know what movie I'm talking about?
Oh,
uh,
yeah, Silence
uh,
of the
Silence
Lambs.
of the Lambs.
Hmm.
And that was a movie that he had just done, and he's coming off that. And everybody's talking about Anthony Hopkins, this and that and the other. This movie, I think, won some Oscars too. But Anthony
I
Hopkins,
know it was nominated for a few.
I believe it had either three nominations or maybe even three wins. But he did something in the early 90s that got everybody in Hollywood to swivel his direction and be like, oh my God, he's such a good actor. Like, he was bigger than Alec Baldwin. And for those of you that like Team America World Police, you got that joke. I think this movie really showcased what Anthony Hopkins could do as a supporting actor because you almost want him to be the main actor. Uh, Jonathan Harker plays kind of weak. Keanu
Well,
Reeves,
just
we
like
get
I
it.
said,
Is
the,
that his
the
best role?
editing,
Best
I feel,
successful?
is what
He
made
couldn't
him
have.
weak.
But the bits we see, we want Van Helsing to be the hero. We want that. We want to see what Van Helsing can do.
Hmm.
And I'm just now looking over at Anthony Hopkins' body of work on IMDb. And for those of you that have time, you've got a lot of watching to do because he has things going on from like 1960, where he was in 2 episodes of A Matter of Degree, and then he really starts being a TV actor in 65. Starts doing he's doing television acting, and he did a lot of plays, but then he starts doing a little bit of movies here in the mid 70s, and up to the point where he was in the TV movie for Othello in 81. That's the one my mother talked about all the time. I never remembered it. He played Quasimodo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was another TV movie.
That was one of my
What?
mother's favorite movies.
Yeah, he's a fucking actor's actor. And
Mhm.
then, of course, in '91, he hits a big time when he gets a Hannibal Lecter's role, which Silence of the Lambs is a really good movie. Is it the best we get for Hannibal? No. Manhunter is actually, I feel, superior for Hannibal. Anyway, uh, Janet, do you know what we're doing next week?
Um, I think we're doing something poo and honey or something.
Nope, we're not.
Oh,
We're not gonna do Blood and Honey.
oh, blood and honey. Okay. So
No,
now,
no. If everything works the way it should, we're gonna watch a movie that you might like called Operation Swordfish.
I know a movie called Swordfish that I saw, but I don't remember Operation Swordfish.
I believe Operation Swordfish is a movie with Hugh Jackman, John Travolta, Halle Berry, Don
The one
Cheadle,
we're
Sam Shepard.
watching? Oh my God, I love this movie.
It's
Yeah, I
okay.
saw it with Halle
It,
Berry.
it's okay. It's nowhere near my like. I want to watch it to see
This
if
is
I
a movie
have the
I
same.
chose. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
one of those movies I put on there because you put it, but it's a Dominic Sena movie, and I'm going to see if I still like it as much as I did when I was 28, because that was when I saw it,
yeah,
and I'm not certain if I'm going to have the same feelings about it. You remember, kids, I watched a movie at 19. When I saw it again in my 40s, I fucking hated it, and that was Cowboy Way.
yeah. It was bad. Because
But
when I saw it when I was young, it was kick ass, and then when I saw it later, I'm like, what the hell am we watching? It was bad. But yeah, I saw Swordfish with my sister, so it was good. I really liked it. Can't
Jackie
wait to see
Blue,
it.
yeah, I
But
love it.
my score for this movie, it's one of my favorite vampire movies. And but see, I have a few of them. I love Morbius, even though a lot of people didn't like it, but it's totally different vampire movie because he's
More
never
vampire.
dies. Okay, he never dies. He's living vampire, totally different. And then I love Lost Boys. That was another vampire movie which I absolutely love, and I love the one with what was I just said it a few minutes ago, the one with they're hunting werewolves and stuff.
Underworld. Yeah.
Underworld. I love all of those ones. They're really good. So I like lots of them. And I did read the vampire books of Twilight, and they were good. But I had a really hard time with the whole the vampire werewolf stuff in the second book. I barely could get through it. I didn't like it. Just like I didn't really like some of the aspects in the book I read when I read it. When it came to the actual alien stuff, the ship and all that stuff, I just kept falling out. I had to force myself
There's
to read it.
no alien in the movie It. You're talking about the Tommy Knockers, I think.
Yeah, maybe it was Tommy Knockers, whatever. What I'm saying is I had the same hard time getting through the story is what I was trying to, when I was reading Twilight, I had the same thing. I kept going, God, this is so boring. It's so, yeah, it was the one with the clown in the sewer, right?
It's a clown in the sewer, and at the very end, his true form is arachnid like.
Yeah. So
It's
that's not the one I was talking about. I meant, yeah, you're right. It was a Stephen
the
King
Tommy
book.
knockers are the aliens in the crashed UFO,
Yeah,
where
that's the one I was
the
talking about.
girl unearths it in her backyard, and her best friend comes over and helps her, and he's got a steel plate in his head, and if
Yeah.
she puts her fucking ear to his head, she can hear music because he's a fucking AM receiver, which
Hmm.
is kind of cute. The movie for that was ass, and the book kind of fell short for me.
Yeah, I
Uh,
had a hard time. It was to me, I just had a hard time getting through all the alien stuff. Reading that part of it was just really hard, and I had the same problem with the werewolf stuff in the Twilight books. It was just so boring and monotonous. It just didn't flow like I wanted it to. So I had a hard time, and I do that with some books. But some of them I can just like Lord of the Rings had no problem reading. I didn't have any problem with the there's another set of books I read, the Game of Thrones books.
mhm.
I mean, I whizzed through them like nothing, and they were so good. And there was so much I left out of the actual series. I was just sad by it, how much they left out. Good stuff they could have put in there, made a whole nother year of the book, of the series. If they'd added certain things throughout the story instead of rushing through it. But some books are just, to me, written way better than others, and that was how I felt about it. And I really, maybe one day will read this book, because
I
the
really wish.
scenes about the little girl when she's coming down the stairs, holding that toddler in her arms, as a young woman who was just about to become a woman and a wife and be able to be a mother herself. And that's all she wanted, was to be a mom and be a beautiful wife and take care of her man, that type of thing. And now she's cursed to feeding on the very thing that she wanted in her life as a woman, a young woman. And it was heartbreaking to me. I cry every time I see that scene. It was so sad to me for Lucy's character, that's what her life is. And she doesn't realize that's her life because now she's a vampire. And, but, Lucy loved Mina, and Mina loved Lucy, and Mina saw what she could, her potential, what she could have had. And I liked how they used Anthony Hopkins' voice as a voiceover for some of it, and Jonathan Harker and Mina's voice
Mhm.
to tell the story. Also, I like that. It made it more personal for me for each of the characters. I thought this was a very well done movie. There was very few things that I really thought were, kind of took me out of it a little bit, but it was very, very little. And it definitely was not with the costumes or the sets or the way they filmed the thing, like with the shadows and stuff, just like what someone was saying earlier, that vampires didn't have shadows in the book, you know. But I liked the creepiness of how the the shadows showed up before he was even, near him in the room, things like that. And he was trying to grab him by the throat. The shadow was like his alter personality or something. I just thought it was really cool. How they did that, and that was all the direction of the director, because a director's vision, uh, to me, is what's so interesting, because you talk about that a lot when you talked about certain things about different directors and certain things that you liked about directors, and why you'll tend to go to another movie by the same director because you like the way they visually come across on screen, because they're putting out on screen what they're seeing in their head and wanting you to see on the screen when you go see it.
Yeah,
And you guys
there's
connect.
very few movies that John Carpenter's made where I just outright can't watch them all the way through.
Yeah.
And there's a movie that he did that when it was coming out, I thought, oh, maybe he's just taking over for the Mutant Chronicles film because this movie looks like shit. And he made a movie called The Ghost of Mars.
Mhm.
which it was a vehicle to see Jason Statham before he was really big Jason Statham. And there was another girl that was in I Know What You Did Last Summer or something, and she was big for like 3 or 4 years, and then I think she started a family. But that's like the worst John Carpenter film I've ever seen. And the biggest problem I have with it is that usually his movies are very kinetic. Hungar, you don't have to do that, man. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Really, I do appreciate it. I'll have to get a stream together for you, me, and your brother soon. Um, but Carpenter's movies are very kinetic films. This movie, Ghost of Mars, is not. It's not a very good movie, and it's one of those few films that John Carpenter's got his names on it, and it's the least John Carpentery of the films you'll ever see.
Mhm.
Um, this movie here feels like a Francis Ford Coppola movie. It doesn't really feel like it was a book adaptation. It's a very good movie. It does a lot of things from the book. It does probably more things from the book than any other vampire film to date. But in honesty, I just hate the fact he has Bram Stoker's on top of it the way he did with Mario Puzo's The Godfather. Because if you watch The Godfather 1 and 2, or if you see the supercut on TNT, where they smush the two movies together, add in some secret footage, you get the book, The Godfather, by Mario Puzo. It's just on film. And that movie right there is probably the one that I can stand on a pulpit and be like, if you're going to make a movie off of a fucking book, this is your goddamn template, you pile of shit. And that would be it. Because I honestly feel The Godfather is the best book to movie translation ever. See, 1 and 2. They're great. But there's a supercut that they have on TNT, and I don't know if they still sell it or not. It would used to be sold on VHS. It was like 3 or 4 tapes that you
Mhm.
got the entire book, but you got the fucking movie The Godfather and Godfather Part 2, and it's so fucking good. Don't watch a Godfather Part 3. Don't. Don't fucking watch a Godfather Part 3. It's a good movie. It's really good. Does it deserve The Godfather? No. It's a good movie. It's just it'll piss you off. After you watch it, you're pissed because you're like, that that was what I waited 20 fucking years for. And that's how I feel.
Mhm.
But
Well,
this movie does a very good job of telling the story, and it does a very good job of resolving the love between Elizabeta and Vlad. And at the very end, you see Nina doing that thing that some people do when they lie and they pretend to care about someone, and she cradles his heart, cradles his head. Like he passes on, and then she whacks his head off and makes sure he doesn't come back. That's just perfect.
yeah.
That's good.
We're
Never see a fucking sequel. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
yeah, because he's dead.
Yeah, that made me feel so fucking good. And if I ever
But
saw
see,
that,
isn't it nice though, every so often to get to go see an actual movie that's entertaining that you like, but it ends. There's
yeah,
an
it
actual
ends.
ending, and you know that's final. You don't have to worry about, oh, I can't wait till the third movie comes out. Like what we're stuck with a lot of these movies that come out, and we have to wait years in between if we're lucky to even get it. And then the actors are older, we're older. Different things change, and that's one reason why I thought the Lord of the Rings, when they decided to do it, that was genius because they just made one after the other right away. I mean, they just went ahead and did ding, 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 and look how good they were. They had
Mhm.
all the same actors and had the same people involved in every aspect of it, which is great because when you go from one set of writers to another set of writers, all that it slowly changes as you've seen through years of TV shows that we love. We absolutely love it. And then something happens and they get new writers, and the next season you're like going, God, this doesn't
Here's
seem like
David
a decent
Lindelof.
show, you know. So it's nice when you can get a really good ending, a final ending to a story that you really like, and then it's settled. You don't have to worry about, like, with Blade Runner. the ending of Blade Runner is still going to be a constant pain in the ass for some people because some people think Decker wasn't, a real human, whatever that type of thing. So I don't know.
Did you see the
I have a hard
sequel?
time with people not being able
You
to just
didn't see the sequel.
let it lie.
Janet did not see the sequel. That's the takeaway.
No, I
You know
haven't
what?
seen it. I'm not
You
going to
know
watch
why?
it.
Okay, the sequel of Blade Runner. Spoiler alert.
Hmm.
There's no mention of Deckard being a replicant, and Harrison Ford stars as Deckard in Blade Runner 2049,
Hmm.
and there's no mention of him being a replicant. So the director of this movie didn't give a shit what Ridley Scott said. He's like, "Hey, that's great, that's awesome, good job, get the fuck out," and he wrote his own movie because the majority of us, like, I've read Edge of Human, which is the supposed sequel to how the movie ends. Edge of Human picks up right after Blade Runner. Really good book. Very thrilling towards the end. Very harrowing. But there's no mention of him being a replicant in that. It's just a really good story. And then you have Ridley Scott over there who continues to shit all over something he did in 1978 and 79, and he ruins things. Nobody has done the good thing and just taken the camera and taken the microphone away from Ridley Scott yet. Please do that. The wrong Scott brother died. Um, I I liked Blade Runner. I like the theatrical version over all the others. I'll take the shitty Sam Spade version of Harrison Ford narrating for me.
Yeah.
Um, I just, up until Lord of the Rings, there was never really an outstanding trilogy. There was the Star Wars trilogy, which was the closest, but you have me turning into a fucking raging, frothing maniac in my 20s at a game store, bitching about how it's got Ewoks and not Wookiees.
Hmm.
Hey, I was promised Wookiees, motherfucker. And then you have the Thing, which here's another thing that'll start a fight in a game store. It's Mac McCready. He's one of the things, right? Say that in a game store, you'll be there for hours. Hopefully, they serve alcohol. But it's just one of those things. The first series of movies that were really good from the first to the third is the trilogy of Lord of the Rings, and that made me really happy as a theater goer, as a movie watcher, that I could go and see that. And okay, you promised me they're fucking carnivores, but there's no fucking carnivorism that I get to see in a fucking movie. Nope. What are they there for? To sell fucking stuffed animals. Fuck Lucas and fuck the goddamn blocks.
Yeah. Now they have a baby Yoda.
I don't. That's not part of the Star Wars that I care about. Anything post 2012 that can get fucked. It's just like somebody like Janet writes the greatest vampire action story with a little bit of romance in it, and for fucking 7 or 8 issues or books or movies, it goes off without a hitch, and each one's building on the last, and they're really fucking good. And then around number 8, Janet develops an illness, and so the fucking publishing company appoints some shitty blue hair to come in and write episode 9. And so episode 9 just completely shit cans the first 8 novels or movies in the story, and like gives us fucking handicap True Nifa, whatever the fuck it is, or some ugly fucking Sheboon on fucking EBT, or whatever you want to call it, but it was some other fucking hero of the left that would have no possible idea how to act within the world that Janet created. And but this is all canon because the publisher put it out there. Fuck you. Fuck you. And that's how I feel towards everything Disney's done with Star Wars. And
Yeah.
everything Disney's touched basically since the 50s. Because if you read the Grimm fairy tales, then you watch Disney movies, you're kind of upset. Like Lady and the Tramp's good, but the Cinderella's fucked up. The Snow White's fucked up. Everything they've touched It's just there to pump money into their miserable little system. They rewrite anything they can just to make another dollar. Fuck Disney. Ugh. um, do I love Twilight? I went while I was on this video with you guys trying to paint figurines.
Mhm.
Um, all I wanted was to find the video Twilight for Men, where it shows a bunch of people coming out of the theater and it's like, oh, baby, I love this movie. This is Twilight. We're going to go see it. It's really good. It's about people getting in touch with their feelings. And then you get to see nothing but fucking lesbian sex because you have one girl come up to Bella, I guess, and she's like, I'm a vampire lesbian. And then you have another girl come up to Bella, I'm a werewolf lesbian. And then, like, they just, like, all go start going down on each other. And then the guy's trying to convince his
Is
girlfriend.
this a porn?
It's not a porn. It was a fucking
Oh,
trailer for like a minute and a half. Somebody just did a joke and they filmed some high school or college girls out in the middle of the forest. And the guy is there in front of the movie theater, like, we got to see it because she gets in touch with her feelings. And the girlfriend gets confused, like, he said the right thing, but I don't want to watch a lesbian film. It's one of those movies that I would love. It's just like 2 minutes, and if you guys ever find it's funny as fuck. It's called Twilight for Guys or Twilight for Men. It's a popcorn muncher. It really is. Maybe a carpet muncher too, but it's so good. It's one of the best fucking parodies of the shittiest movement to come out of the 20 aughts. Because
yeah.
Twilight is
I've
such
never heard of
a
it.
story.
Make sure you put that in the chat so other people, when they watch
I
it, they
can't
can.
find the
No,
movie's
I
not on
mean the
YouTube.
name of it. At least that way they can go look it up. Because I've never seen it.
It was so good.
I never heard of it. But I might put it in my Discord or something. It sounds funny.
One of those
Twilight
two.
for Men. Okay.
Yeah, and I think of Twilight Zone,
Mhm.
but yeah, then Six Nations hits me with this. I'd rather watch Star Wars Christmas special than acknowledge anything new Star Wars. New Star Wars can exactly that. It can go fucking hit hyperdrive into a fucking sun.
So, all of you in the chat, if you've seen, if you feel the same way though about Star Wars, did any of you guys like Spaceballs? Just wondering.
More that was a better story than anything new Star Wars. Like, did you really enjoy the Force Awakens? Because I sure didn't. I'm in the movie theater watching, and I'd worked that week, and I had done some things that day, but I had had a good nap, and I rested. I had like 8 hours of sleep, if I remember right. I went to go
Mhm.
see the movie with my friend, and I fall asleep during the middle of a fucking lightsaber fight. And I got up. Once I woke up, I realized what happened. I look at the screen. I fucking dump my popcorn out in the fucking theater, and I just storm out. My buddy Mike's like, "Hey, where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm gonna play video games. I'm fucking bored." And that's exactly what I did. I went out and fucking found a pinball machine in the lobby, and I went and played that and got a few replays off of it while the rest of the movie wrapped up for like an hour. Fuck that movie.
He says he prefers Spaceballs. Oh,
Well,
you
I
got
for
it.
the
Okay.
book from Anthony Zahn.
Mhm.
Those were awesome. They were based off the source books for Star Wars the RPG back in 86, 87. And it makes such a better story than anything Disney's done. Disney fucks up everything they touch. So just if you have it and you're lying to yourself, conceding to your wife, it's for the kids, save your fucking money. Put your money back in your wallet. Go buy fucking DVDs and a
Well,
DVD.
I know a lot of people who, grown-ups, who take their nieces and nephews or their neighbors' kids to the movies because they want to see the movie.
A lot of people do that. I
So,
understand that.
no.
That doesn't mean that they're spending money wisely. They're just throwing money away. You're better off to find a person on Twitter and be like, just can you pose for some photos for me? And you give them money and you get like half the photo you wanted. Or like, can you give me a blowjob? And they like they say hi and they give you a hug and they take your money and go away. You'd be better off just doing that than giving money to Disney, okay? Because that person at least had fucking creativity in their head and they did this
At
shit.
least you leave with a smile on your face.
Something like that, maybe.
Sorry, I had to say that. But
I'm absolutely over the moon about this movie. This is a great film. Dracula 1992. Great movie. I would even say that as far as practical effects go, this movie's probably in my top 10
Hmm.
because of all the practical effects they do.
Even the makeup. I mean, they one of the things I read was that they had to shave the top of Gary Oldman's head
Yeah.
to fix it to where when they put the latex stuff on because of the hair, because they wanted a more dramatic forehead and stuff
Mhm.
for him as his with his giant hair. And the one thing is, I can't help it. I don't know why, but I'd have to research the culture, I guess, of the people from Transylvania and stuff, because every time I saw him in this movie compared to other movies, with the black cape with the red inside with the collar that stands up, things like that you're used to for Dracula, right? Every time I saw him in this one, and I don't remember thinking this the other times that I watched this same movie, but this time I watched it, I kept thinking when he would turn and walk away that he was like an Asian man or something because he's wearing a red robe, and the way his hair was done, it made me think it was leaned more towards an Asian vampire or something. I don't know why. I just can't get it out of my head for some reason. So I just thought that was interesting because I never saw that or felt that way before when I watched this movie.
Have you ever watched an Asian vampire movie where the vampires hop around?
Mhm.
Okay.
The last Asian movie we watched was Big Trouble in Little China, I think. And the other one was the dragon one, remember? And there was a few people that had the
Year of the Dragon.
hair, you know yeah, you're the dragon, that was it. But they had that ponytail and stuff. It was the way his hair was done that made me think about it. But then when I was reading some of the trivia, that was one of the things they said. They had to shave his head. You know how itchy it is when your hair starts to grow back.
Mhm.
Like women shave their legs. I shave my legs every day, and my legs itch getting closer to the
That would
evening
be
because
good content for you.
what? Shaving my legs?
Yep, you ought to do that on camera, sweetheart. Put that
Oh
behind
my
the paywall on
god.
the Patreon.
Well,
Watch
I
the
don't
movie.
I don't do waxing or anything like that. That hurts, and plus I might be allergic to the stuff they use for that. But I've seen some of my girlfriends get waxed, and some of them bleed from getting waxed. So to me, it's not worth it. I'd rather just shave every day if I have to. But him doing that and all that hair growing back there, that might have been part of the problem. Because remember, I read that one little tidbit of information was the fact that in one of the scenes that they had to film with him as the beast, with the flat nose and all that as a bat creature, that he had a allergic reaction to some of the stuff they had to use on him. So he had to say no, I can't do it. I can't do it for this shot for these scenes. So they had a stuntman that had to dress up as him to do the parts. And I don't remember what part it was. I'd have to go back and look. But I thought that was interesting. And I was thinking, wonder if it's the part where he had to after he shaved his forehead stuff to do that one scene, and then he went to try to do that other scene with the other mask because he had the hair growing back. It might have been irritating to him putting all that stuff on because
Okay.
that's a lot of latex. After you and I watched the American Werewolf in London and seeing all the work they went through to pull the hair through. So what they did was they made it real long hair, and then they slowly pulled it through and then reversed it to make it look like it was growing out. So all the details that they went through for all that, I thought that was really interesting. And I would love to see if there's a documentary or something on all the work that they had to go through to make it. I mean, that costume when he was uh, you know, attacking or whatever you want to call it, raping Lucy in the garden. Oh, it was just horrendous. That was a horrendous scene of him dressed in all that gross, hair. And she was beautiful in that beautiful red dress and her gorgeous hair and everything. But he was hideous. The creature in that scene was just horrible. But all the work, you know, someone like us that sees so many of those things, to see how much work and detail went into just that scene, that they made in the garden for the creature was just amazing. So people just don't realize how much work that is and how long it takes to put it on. Hours and hours and hours of work, especially when it's done that way, because that wasn't CGI. That was all makeup, special effects makeup. So that was a big scene.
Nice. Very, very, very nice. Um, I really enjoyed today's show,
Mhm.
and I want to say that I thank Janet for going through the pain and suffering of getting dressed up not once but twice for me on this.
That's
Uh,
okay.
I do think that this is a movie well worth watching. Still, there's a lot of things that modern Hollywood and creators could look at with this movie and see where the narrative beats hit and see the pacing. There's a lot of pacing in this movie that's done very well. Uh,
Hmm.
Francis Ford Coppola gets just right into it. He cuts to the quick, and it's one of those few films that stands up very well today and is still seen as a high watermark of the genre.
Hmm.
This movie should not be missed. It's a classic, and there's very few vampire films that are as good as this. Is it my favorite in the genre? It's almost overtaken by Near Dark. But I
Hmm.
want to say that if you guys are into things like that, this and if you've not seen this vampire film, what are you doing here? Go find it. It's out there on the web. The Internet Archive, I believe, has it, and you could very well be watching it in the next couple hours and have your own opinion.
Yeah, it's visually stunning. I mean, I really the dramatic color swaths in it between where Mina is living with her best friend at the time, why Jonathan is gone, can contrast to the horrible old castle that Dracula is living in. It's just it's so gloomy, and I could just almost feel the drafty air flowing through the castle as they were, walking through it and stuff like that. The Just like I said, the visuals of it, the angles that he used filming it were, it just almost put you there, put you in the scene. And then some of the scenes where you see the shadow coming before he's even in the room, things like that. The part where he cuts his neck on accident with the razor as he's shaving, and then the door is immediately opened and you see him standing outside the door, and it's just creepy. It's just got a really creepy vibe, and it's scary. I mean, it's a real good horror movie, also for a person who you
I'll be
just want to
right
get
back.
you just want to get a good scare for Halloween. This is a really good movie for that. To me, I love watching scary movies, leading up to Halloween. I just really enjoy it. And I love vampires. I love werewolves. I love any of the old classic monsters, even some alien creatures, even the swamp monster, things like that. Uh, because you should get a little chill and enjoy Halloween. Enjoy, uh, you know the funness of it, getting to be a kid again. I love dressing up. I love trying to dress up as different characters, and getting to go to do things, getting to dress up and go somewhere, or just to be someone else for just a short amount of time. It's a lot of fun. And I tell people all the time, buy a few wigs, spice up your home life a little with a blonde wig or a redheaded wig, different outfits you buy, beautiful clothes. Why not buy a wig and just, surprise your boyfriend or your husband, if you're a woman, and see what happens. It can't hurt, can't make it worse, but you never know. You might enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And, just enjoy what little bit of life we have left. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to end really soon or anything like that, but what I mean is we work hard to pay our bills, take care of our families and stuff, and we all deserve a little time for ourselves. And why not do something fun, something that just between the two of you? You don't have to go anywhere or do anything. Just make a night at home and watch a good movie, but dress up, listen to music, or have a nice dinner together, or anything. Just enjoy each other's company. And so few people get to do that anymore. And when you're home every night together, why not make one of the nights special? So, watch a good movie, hold hands, eat some popcorn, watch a scary movie that you haven't watched before. Um, because scary movies bring you closer together. That's what my mother always said, because she had 5 daughters, so there was always a lot of screaming in our house when we would watch scary movies. But I can't help it. That's how I was raised, and we always enjoyed it. So, and my mother would pop popcorn on the stove. I remember that. And then she would put it in paper bags, and she'd cut the paper bag down, halfway down, and then fold it down a little bit, and then pass them out, because when you have 5 kids, that's a lot of popcorn. But yeah, I really enjoy movies, and I'm loving getting to do this with Bruce every week. And I'm glad that his wife is doing better. She fell and hurt her knee last week. That's why we didn't get to do the show. But I hope everyone that gets to hasn't seen this movie gets a chance to watch it, and hope you like it. I really do. I hope you enjoy it. But it's a good movie to watch for Halloween. I think Halloween's Friday night. Yeah, it's just coming up Friday night. It's going to be a fun night, because I plan on doing something special. I don't know what, for the Friday night shit show for Halloween. But I've got a costume all picked out. Oh, if it turns out good, but we'll see. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, everybody on X and on YouTube and Rumble. And uh, my score, let's see, what was I going to give it? I was thinking about it. It's visually stunning movie. It's really beautiful, but I really love costumes. I love the music that they had in it. Uh, I thought the acting was really, really good. I even thought Keanu Reeves wasn't as bad as a lot of people seem to give him. Uh, after
Your
you
opinion of that changes with the deleted scenes that are brought to
Yeah,
light.
what that did, it did change it. But I still think he was better in this one than he was in Dangerous Liaisons. I thought he
Dangerous
was a way
Liaisons,
better actor in this movie than
that,
that
that
one.
movie that movie isn't really a vehicle for Keanu. He's just a placeholder.
Yeah,
And I'm really
and he was a
surprised.
cutie pie, and that's what he was in why he was in the movie.
I I
you know?
was so surprised that fucking Johnny Depp was not in this movie. After discovering that he was in the running for it and he lost to Keanu Reeves, Johnny Depp was all on Fox because of 21 Jump Street, and he was kind
Yeah,
of popular because he was on Nightmare on Elm Street, and he had done commercials, I believe. Was he in any other slasher films? I can't remember. But Johnny Depp could have been in this. That could have been the start of the Winona Ryder Johnny Depp arc that carried us through the 90s.
yeah. He was in Edward Scissorhands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's been in a lot of good movies, so he did really good. But my score, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 stars for this movie, because to me it is really, really one of my favorite vampire movies of all time. I really love it. I think it's very, very well done.
This movie doesn't quite score that high for me.
Well,
I
mine
mean,
is always higher than yours. So
it's okay. It does some things wrong, like the romance between Mina and Dracula, but it does some things that makes it its own. Uh, Near Dark for me, I believe, is an 89. If Near Dark had better miniatures, if they had better practical effects, I would probably say that's a better movie,
mhm.
but it's not. It is a good movie if you like having James Cameron lose half of his cast out of Aliens and half his budget out of Aliens, and his wife takes half of everything from him to make a movie and still makes a profit. Because when that movie hit the theaters, it didn't really splash, but when it hit the video cassettes, That's where it hit. And the bad thing is that nowadays we don't have video cassettes or DVD sales. That's kind of gone by the wayside. You all don't like physical enough. But that used to be a guaranteed second stream of income. And that movie sold a lot, especially Laserdisc, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Near Dark, 89. Dracula, 89.5. It does not get in the 90s. Okay, 89.4. We're not rounding up, God damn it. This is a
That's okay.
this is a fine movie. It just edges out Near Dark on some things, but it is so good, and it does a very good job of illustrating to you what could possibly be a love story that wasn't in the book, but the director saw it and made it and turned it into his own. I do like that aspect of it. I like the alternate ending better than the theatrical ending. All right, that's everything I have to say about this movie. Janet, what are you doing this week?
Well, I'm going to be playing on Bear's channel tomorrow night. And I'm trying to remember which one. I can't remember which game it is. One of the games, because he's wanting me to start another game. So every Monday night I'll be playing a different game on Bear's channel. So I can't remember if it's the Guardians this week or not, or if it's his new one, but I can't even remember the name of it right this second. I'm so sorry. What's so funny?
Cotton Ministries. Fucking hilarious. I'm so glad Depp wasn't in this movie. This movie doesn't deserve to be just another Johnny Depp movie.
It doesn't. And I agreed with him. So.
Everyone, God bless you. Take care. Squirrel Hermit, get some rest. Shadow and Sun, be good. Puzzles, Cotton Ministries, everybody who came here, you guys be well. Keep your head on a swivel. If you see a communist, throw him in a wood chipper.